So, welcome to another Wardy's Weekly Waffle Farm Update. Hope you've had a cracking Christmas. We have here in Lincolnshire, and that includes Frankie. She's had some few presents to open, which is great, but I think she thinks they're all food. But just before we get into the farm update, I just wanted to touch on something I put on Twitter this week, and that regards sugar. And the government have just extended a 3-year deal, extended the sugar quotas to import tariff-free sugar cane. And now this is distressing for me as a sugar beet grower and other growers in England who grow sustainable sugar beet, because raw cane sugar is often grown and produced in parts of the world where they don't care for the environment, and such as Brazil is one place where the rainforest is damaged for growing some of these crops. And I think a lot of this cane sugar from other parts of the world is grown with around 25 plant protection products that we're banned from using in this country because they were deemed to be unsafe for the environment or wildlife, or even humans, or all of them. So again, this is hugely distressing. And when we see the government say they want to support food production in this country and that they will safeguard our high animal welfare and environmental welfare standards, and that's not the case quite clearly, but we're becoming used to that at the moment, which is sad. But anyway, just getting on to the farm update now. We'll continue to look at our machinery, and this week we're focusing on the Simba Unipress, the Simba Cultipress, and also the Simba Solo, and we'll have a look and I'll show you various situations in which we use those machines. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, click like, click subscribe, and here we go. Next on the wash pad is our Simba Cultipress, and we've been using these machines since 1996 instead of para harrows, and they're brilliant machines and go really well with our Simba free flow drill. But we'll have a look at this in a minute when Ruben's finished washing it, and just make sure and go through it all rather, and just see the ins and outs of how the machine operates. But again, really good bit of kit, very well made by Simba, that unfortunately are no longer here. Next machine we're going to look at is the Unipress, and the machine we had on the wash pad a few minutes ago, it wasn't the Cultipress as I said, it was this Unipress, but I will show you the difference between the two of them. So this machine is 5.5 meters wide, the same as the Express you saw in last week's video, and it's useful having all these machines the same width. So you can see it's still got the single line of DDs, and the reason why they're called DDs is because you look at that, it's like shaped like a letter D, so the double D when you've got like two of them together like that, so that's why they're called DD rings. Anyway, these rings I think are 700 millimeters tall, so these are a bit bigger diameter than the Cultipress, so you have a bit bigger rolling radius. So to look at this machine from the front, you've got one central ram that holds the whole frame. We have shims that go in here as well, because the machine needs to be level when it's operating. Obviously those legs here are just for storing it when it's off the tractor. Now the tines we have here are spring loaded, so if you look at that, you can see that there actually does move backwards and forwards and actually creates a bit of fine tilth. These spring retainers here are meant to stop the tine snapping. Now we've got one missing there and one here, and I think it has worked, because these tines, if you happen to get under a lump of concrete at the bottom, and that point will go right back, it's when it springs forward that it breaks these spring tines at the top, and this actually stops it going too far forward. And so we do need one or two more on those. You can see these have got them on under here. So these tines on depth, you've got pins here you can just take out and alter the depth of the tine. You've got a point obviously down there that's reversible, you can swap round, and these soon need changing round. And then when you lower it down into work, obviously at the minute it's got the stands on the floor, so we just won't put it in level. But you've also got levelling boards there that are, the depth is controlled with these shims. Again, are the pipes in, Rube? No. So they can work up and down, and when these tines are in the ground and the levelling boards are down, you can alter the angle of these so they'll touch the floor, and the idea is that they'll sift any lumps, will roll round into the rings, and the lumps will be trapped between the levelling boards there, and then the rings will break the lumps. And so the weight of this machine, it's normally over a ton per metre, but this Unipress is lighter than the Cultipress because it's only got one line of DDs. And there's a valve somewhere on it to keep the wings level, pressure container, and we've got auto lube on this one. This is linked through to the auto lube on the Simba, on the Solo. So we've got the auto lube pipes here. It's a small, here, these. So we plug those pipes into the back of the Solo of the other machine, and the auto lube on the Solo will work through and grease here. So we've got grease points here which go down into the bearings. It's down in the bottom through there. Just see the bearings through there, and another bearing through here. These scrapers are low down at this angle because when it picks any soil up, it knocks it off here and drops it to the floor. And again, the scrapers normally are up here, but we changed all these a few years ago. This machine is probably, we've had it about 4 years old, but I think it's about 10 to 12 years old. And Simba yellow machines, they changed to green about 2012 when Great Plains took over the running of Simba machinery, and obviously Simba aren't around anymore. There is the machine. There we go, 2011. So August 2011 when this machine was built. But great machine for running behind the Solo and also behind the Unipress. And it just consolidates the ground here, makes it weatherproof with the rings all along the back. So that's it. And folding it up again, really easy. It's all done on that main ram there. And then these wing rams there. That's it. So then put a strap across here for transport. So just looking at the difference, so you can see there we've got row of tines, double row of tines, you've got your levelling boards, springs here, and you've got your one row of DDs. If we look over here at the Cultipress, Frankie's having a look. You can see the difference with this one is we've got 2 rows of tines, got one missing here, 2 rows of tines the same, a row of levelling boards the same, but here we have twin DDs, but these are smaller. These are 600mm diameter, and this is a lot heavier. This is probably 1.3 tons per meter, but does a cracking job, this machine, breaking any lumps that you happen to have, consolidate it, and works the surface. So again, great machine. We've only bought this one probably, I think it was last year, March time, but again, August 11, so it's the same age as the Unipress we have. But again, we keep them undercover, look after them, keeps the paintwork in good condition, and I just hate seeing machinery that stood outside. And obviously there's the Express that you saw in detail last week. So we've got the Express there, we've got the Cultipress there, and we've got the Unipress across there. So works just the same, this one does as the Unipress, but with these double DDs it really does a lot better job consolidating and breaking any lumps. So yeah, that's 3 of our Simba machines. So this is a 5.5 metre Cultipress. We bought this second hand only just earlier on this year, and it does a really good job. Does a really good job with those tines, just working in the soil, bringing the lumps to the top. We've got the levelling boards up at the minute there. They're all right, they don't need to be down. And the brings at the back are consolidating it and firming it and leaving it in a really good state, ready for the drill. You saw this combine on last week's video where it stood in the yard. We just struck it up to make sure everything was working and charged the batteries up, and a few people just asking how old it was. It's actually just done its 7th harvest in 2021, but again, because we keep it under cover, keep the sunlight off it as much as we can, and keep it out the weather, it does preserve it a lot better. But yeah, it's on tracks, you can see here, and it's a rotary combine. CR means it's a rotary combine. So there's 2 massive rotors run right through the middle of the combine and bring the straw out the back. We've got those spinning discs there that you saw in last week's video going round. They are to spread the chaff, and then these going round at the back here that we're going round at a big pace. You can jog to see them, but there's 2 spinning discs to spread the straw. So again, if we want here to put the straw in trails, which we very rarely do, the straw comes down that chute. And the reason we don't bale much straw purely is because of blackgrass. We've had a real sort of policy and a hit on blackgrass over the last 6-7 years, and you get a lot of these contract balers coming in. They're baling in other people's crops that have got blackgrass in, and I just know from experience talking to other farmers, often you get blackgrass brought in by the baler, no matter how much you think you blow the baler down. So that's why we don't tend to bale much straw. So we have a 35-foot header on the front of this combine, and we'll see that in the winter time when we bring it down to service it. So we'll have a bit more of a detailed look at the combine then. Anyway, Ruben is just backing up to the Solo, which when we've got that washed and cleaned, we'll go through that machine. The next machine we're looking at is the Solo, again made by Simba. Now this machine we got new in 2004, and I'll tell you the story of this machine in a minute. Normally it goes on the quad track. This tractor won't pull it, so we're just lowering the wings down. It's only 4.5 meters wide, and the depth that you pull this at, this means that it needs a minimum of 450 to 500 horsepower on the front of it on our soil types, on our heavy clay soils. But we don't go as deep now with any of the cultivations, so we don't need as much power as we did. But the quad track we have is 600 horsepower, and it would manage a machine wider, but obviously with everything we're doing, we're changing how we're doing things, it's just not worth swapping this, so we'll just keep this for some situations. But looking at how it works now, going through at the front discs are the one that goes straight into stubble, and that cultivates it probably 4 inches deep, and that's the first mixing of the straw and the soil. You can alter the angle on it with the hydraulics, just by moving it along that slide, and the steeper angle you have on there, the more soil and deeper it moves. We've got shims again on the rams, put different shims in there for the depth, and that's for the depth of the front. Then next in the middle we have some loosening subsoiler legs, and the hydraulic pipes aren't in these at the minute, but these rams would normally be fully extended, and the legs would go right down, so that whatever depth those discs are working at, these legs will probably be 6 inches deeper than that. But again, you can alter the depth of these with the different holes you've got there. So all these legs would drop down, and they're on a hydraulic reset. You've got your accumulator bottle there, so that if they meet an obstruction under the ground, they would lift up and then drop back in again, and so it doesn't bend anything. So we've got in this machine 5 of these legs altogether. That little tine in the middle there is just to grovel up and move the soil from the discs in front. That on that overlap, you can just see on the overlap there in the middle. So that's what that's meant to do. Frankie's having a look. That disc there just stops the throw, so when you're going quite a speed, that disc would throw the soil into there, and that just stops that making a ridge. Then coming to the back, tyres, the wheels again, we would lift these wheels clear of the ground so the whole weight of the machine is sat on that DD. So this is another DD roller. You'll see most of our machines here have got these DD rollers in, and they are brilliant at consolidating and making the soil weatherproof. So the idea of this is that this chops the soil and firms and consolidates it after the previous passes of the legs and the disc, and then that then leaves it in a condition for this second row of discs. You can just see there they're in a V formation. The second row of discs cut a bit deeper than those and a bit deeper than the first line, and these back discs are deeper, they're bigger diameter discs, so they'll cut a bit deeper and they'll cut in fresh ground. Then on the back we have a drawbar here. Just noticed the bolt broken, so that's the idea of getting these things in the workshop. We tow one of the presses that you've just seen in the video. We tow one of those on the back, and then they're over there parked up out the weather. Put one of those on the back, so if the soil's a bit tacky, we have the Unipress on the back, or if it's very hard and dry, we'll have the double press on. And then this is where all the hydraulic services that work the following press plug into. And then you saw me mention about the Autolube a few minutes ago. That's the Autolube pipes where the press plugs into. And we've got rams on here. We can alter the angle of those again to cut, so it's the same as the front. So the more angle you put on those back discs, the more soil it moves and the deeper it will go. And again, the same with the press. With this DD press here, got shims on these rams here, which again will lift that up and down. We've got a rubber shield there, which again stops the soil throwing. It throws it out here quite a way, which then causes a ridge down this side, which doesn't leave it level. And then lastly, got the Autolube container. So we put grease in there, and it's not wired in, but when it is plugged into the tractor, this light will be on here red to denote there's power to it. And we can set in this box at the back here, we can set the program and see how long it works. And it'll normally do a cycle about every 10 or 15 minutes. And this is all the greasing pipes through here to the bearings you can see in there. Another one through to the bearing in this disc, so the pipe goes all along there. So we've got pipes, all this Autolube round to that point there, and it just means in the morning we're not wasting time greasing up. So yeah, that's the Solo. So just to explain how we got into this, I used to do quite a lot of development work for Simba and help them with farmer visits from European farmers, and I used to go to conferences abroad with the MD of Simba, Guy Laversha, and I was sat on the plane with Guy. This would have been the early 2000s. They'd just brought out these Solos and he wanted us to try one, and I did a deal on the plane with him without ever trying the machine. We were ploughing and doing all sorts of things, and I did a deal with Guy on the plane that we'd have the use of the machine. It was a smaller one than this, it wasn't this one. We'd have the use of the machine for a season. If we got on with it, we'd part with the money in November that we agreed, and I can't remember what those figures were now, but if we didn't get on with it, Guy would take the machine back off us. We'd pay him a contract fee for or hire fee for using the machine, and then and that will be it. We'll go back to the old system. But that's where trust comes, because Guy trusted me enough to stick to my word, and I trusted Guy to do the same. So it was a great relationship and a good way of getting into it. And since then, we've never really looked back with Simba machinery, even though they're not around at the moment or anymore, which is sad. But you can see how these machines are built, just solid and tough, and really good machines. And even when we're going down the road, looking at the drawbar here, the one on the back, we can put press on the back and it just follows the tractor. But anyway, yeah, just going back to the story, that's how we got into Simba machinery, and that's how we got into using the Solo. Complete transformation. We use this Solo for sugar beet as well, which most people plough. We don't. We use it for sugar beet, and we also use it for other spring crops as well. But we are actually getting less and less and moving it less now, moving soil less at a less depth. Quite aggressive the wings are here, which now we don't want something as aggressive as this. We've got wear plates on here. You can just see there we welded it up. It wears thin there with the soil coming up over the wing. But yeah, and interesting that we're changing what we're doing. So that is the Simba Solo. This is the last field we're cultivating for next year's sugar beet crop. We don't use a plough. We stopped ploughing here on this farm in 2002, and we use this Simba Solo. We bought it in 2004, so it's quite old, but it still does a cracking job on this soil type. Quite a nice soil here for sugar beet, it's ideal. And we've had the sewage sludge spread. You can see all the black on the soil surface, and we've had some some potash and salt spread, and that's it for the fertiliser for the beet crop. So here, this machine, it's got discs at the front that's incorporating the soil and the straw and the sewage sludge and mixing it. You can see in there we've then got some legs, and there's 6 loosening legs on this machine. They're working about 8 to 10 inches deep with wings on. Then here we have a press consolidating the ground and leaving it firm for the next set of discs there, and that's doing more chopping and mixing, and that's doing a really good job there, you can see. And then at the following on at the last, we have this Unipress, 5.5 metre Unipress with the tines at the front, and really we could have the tines out in this field because it's lovely soil here. And then the last row of DD rings at the back, just to finally firm it and leave it in a state for the winter. And it I suppose you could say it weatherproofs it as well. This is the machine we now use for sugar beet instead of ploughing, to prepare the land for the winter. And it's great really, because it leaves it so level, and it leaves the soil surface in a really good condition. I'll just get out the way, and then you can see the tines. And that's the sort of finish it leaves. Frankie! Frankie nearly got chopped up. You little tinker. Those front discs mixing and chopping it, we've got loosening legs there, and then we've got discs and a press in the middle, so it's left it quite rough, but it'll be okay, because we'll just put the press across this and work it once if not twice, and then drill it. And when you look at the lumps it's left, they actually do break quite easily when you look at that. So it'll be in good form really. There's lots of fine soil with it, lots of fine soil. So I hope you've enjoyed that farm update, and on behalf of Frankie and myself, I would like to wish you a happy new year. Hope you've enjoyed today, and thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.